I'm Miss Denise. Today I'm here to show you how values, light and shade, can make your drawings appear three-dimensional or 3D. Value in drawing creates form and makes things look more realistic, whereas drawings without value look flat. Let's explore that now with our lesson. We are going to do a still life lesson. 3 important parts to drawing a still life, and by the way, this is what a still life looks like. It's just some objects on a table. But 3 rules or important parts about the still life are overlap, objects appear closer to the viewer that are in front, and objects behind appear farther from the viewer. And the magic of overlap gives us that power to make things look behind and in front. Hierarchy. That means that objects closer to the viewer, okay, by the way, the viewer is us, okay? We're viewing, so that's who the viewer is. Objects closer to the viewer are lower on the paper. So down here, in hierarchy, this H would be closer to the viewer, you or me, and the Y would be the farthest from the viewer. The last tip for drawing still life is the proportion part. Really observe the objects. There's that observation again. Really observe the objects you're drawing to make sure they're in proportion to one another. In other words, if all these were the same size, these look smaller because they're further away from this, and these look even smaller because they're further away from that. Proportion is how you draw things in relation to one another. Now we're going to set up and draw our own still life. So I want to just show you how to do that before you start, okay? I'm going to set up these 3. I have lots of objects at home. I chose these, a couple vases and a jar. So I've chosen 3 objects, and I'm going to set them up so that there's some overlap. In other words, one's behind or in front of the other, and so there's hierarchy. So I'm not going to put them right beside each other because there's no hierarchy. They would all be at the same level. But if I put this one behind, all of a sudden there's hierarchy. Okay, these are in front and that's behind. So I'm going to just arrange them so there's an overlap too. Okay, I've just arranged my still life. Now if you look at this, I'll use this to show you with the ruler. This is the bottom of our paper. So I'm going to do it this way. Well, I guess not. I'm going to do it this way. This is the bottom of the paper. So this is the furthest, the closest to the viewer. This one. This is a little further away from the viewer. That's a lot farther away from the viewer in terms of hierarchy. In terms of proportion, I'm observing, this is shorter than these are. These are almost the same height. Also, this is skinnier. Well, this is about as skinny as this is right here. And these are almost as wide as each other. So now I've just observed and I'm imagining how they're going to go on my paper. I am also looking at one more thing that I have to mention, and that is light source. So right now, the light's coming from a lot of directions. But I can see mostly light coming from this side, and I actually see shadows on the table. When you're at home setting this up yourself, you can just have a flashlight over here and really make the light hit this side and make the shadows really dark. But I'm not going to worry about that. It's good to do that sometimes so you see how shadow and light works. It's very important. But I'm just going to wing it. First thing I'm going to do is draw my table. Now I'm going to draw my table line. I'm going to put it up here because I need enough room to put everything on the table. I'm going to start with drawing what's closest to the end, to the viewer. Remember, closest to the viewer? I'm going to draw an elliptical shape. Remember those elliptical lessons? They come in handy now. I'm going to draw this little object on first. I'm just sketching it in, not going to do the whole thing right now. Making sure I get my proportions right and my placement right. Now this one kind of goes up. It's a little further back. So I'm going to draw it here. It's about the same size. So there we go. And it's a little taller than this one. So I'm going to draw a little taller. The opening is about the same though. And now behind it, because of overlap, we're going to have another jar, a vase, and it's going to be, the base is smaller. So I'm going to draw it there. It's going to be about as high as this, proportion-wise. And I'm going to lay it in right there. Okay, so I've got the placement. It's kind of got a lot of space over here, but maybe I can put like a flower laying on the table later or something. But let's just get this sketched in. So there's this, and remember I'm drawing from observation, so I see an elliptical kind of shape right there. And I'm making this elliptical a little better, so it looks more like what I'm seeing in front of me. I'm going to stick that cute little handle on. Kind of wide there, and then it gets really skinny. Goes kind of straight down. It looks like a hand-blown glass vessel. I like that. Okay. Now here we have kind of a lip around the rim. It kind of goes like that. See how I'm drawing through? I'm drawing through, see? Even like that. Later I can erase all those lines. Artists do that. They draw through because it just helps them see better. See how I'm looking through the clear glass and I'm kind of drawing through, trying to get a shape there that I like. And I noticed it's a little small, so guess what? I'm bringing it down. Now, one thing I want to say now, while you're watching me kind of sketch my drawing in, I want to say that this is really hard to get perfect. So I want you to let go of perfect. Mine is in no way perfect. This is not quite the right proportion. If you were here looking at it with me, you would see that they're not quite the right proportion. And that's okay. This is not about perfection. You have to let that go or you'll never do this. Seriously, I got to bring this down too. Make that shape there. There we go. Draw through to make sure that I get the shape. See, I just want to make sure it's symmetrical. I'm happy with it. I have a little teeny weeny eraser, which I love because it helps me erase some of these lines where the bigger eraser is really hard to use. So here I go. I'm erasing some lines before I go over my drawing with Sharpie. And yes, that's what I want to do. So I don't want to see this, right? This one that I drew through. I don't want that elliptical. I don't want that elliptical or that or that or that. Getting rid of the lines. This is kind of on not quite the right angle. I'm adjusting it. And I'm doing this before I lay the Sharpie on so I don't get confused and go over the wrong lines. Okay. Oh, and this one. Don't want that there. Yeah, these are really fun. They're just like a mechanical pencil. It's kind of like a mechanical eraser. So now I'm going to go over my lines with Sharpie. Now, I don't have to do that. I can also shade in black and white. But I did that before. So this time, I'm going to use the Sharpie. Now that I was so careful drawing this, I have to be kind of careful with my Sharpie. And in fact, I just chose to use a skinnier pen. I like to do my ellipticals well. So I'm going to turn it on an angle, my paper, and try and get the best elliptical shapes I can. Go over my lines. Oh, okay, I think I finally got it. And one more little thing, these are glass, so I can kind of see through a little bit. So I'm going to add those, some of those. Now I'm going to do my table line with the Sharpie. Or I should say it's my Pitt pen. Take the eraser once the Pitt pen's dry and get rid of all the extra eraser shreds. And now you're ready to draw your still life. Okay? I didn't add my shadows. I would do that later when I do my light and darks, okay? It's your turn now to set up your still life and draw it. Okay, so I hope you drew your still life and you've got your shapes all ready to finish. So this is the part where you finish your drawing however you want to. I want to give you some ideas. Go over your lines with a Sharpie like I did and erase the pencil lines. And you can leave it just like that. That's called a line drawing. Or you can use colored pencils and you can color it. Or you can shade your objects like I did. Don't forget, if you shade, you have to have your light source figured out, right? Sun or light on one side or the other. Okay, have fun finishing it. Well, I sure hope that you enjoyed yourself drawing from observation and making a still life. It's one of the best ways to develop your drawing skills and become very good at drawing. Please remember that it isn't important that you draw things perfect. That is way too hard, and even I can't do that. And I'm supposed to be the art teacher. Perfection is not the goal here. What is important is to develop both your hand and eye coordination and your perception, or your seeing ability. This always calls for practice, and even for someone like me who's been drawing her whole life, I still practice and enjoy learning new things. Please resist any urges to throw your drawings away. Well, once in a while, it's okay if you really must. Instead, keep them safe in a sketchbook or portfolio where they can remain undamaged. Date your work. Every year you can look back at how much your skill has improved, and you'll feel encouraged.